everybody. Welcome to the E3 podcast, where we encourage, empower, and educate female entrepreneurs. I'm so excited to have my very good friend and mentor, Liz Faircloth, on today. So, hi, Liz. How are you?
Hey, Melissa. Great. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Excited about this amazing podcast you have. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, you embody all the things that we're going to talk about as far as encouraging. You've always been so encouraging to me, and I've learned so much from you, and I feel very empowered after our conversations. So you're kind of the poster child for what we're doing here. So thank you.
I love it. Just get like a picture of me on your podcast. No, I'm joking.
Right?
You want a picture of yourself.
I have one. I'll just put your head like Photoshop somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like a character of some sort in the background. Yeah.
You're my avatar, Liz. Well, do you want to tell everybody just a little bit about who you are and your journey with your businesses so far?
Sure. I'll be as succinct as I can, as possible for me, because I am not the most succinct person. But yeah, so my husband and I started like getting into investing in entrepreneurship about 15 years ago together. I was actually finishing up graduate school in social work. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to help people individually as well as group kind of settings, and quickly kind of got a sense that I didn't know if I wanted to do that in the setting that I had my graduate school experiences, where it was more therapeutic. And I really got it after reading a lot of books, and I'm like, I really want to start a business, but I'm not sure what to do or where to go. And a lot of the books that I read were very focused on learning about sales and getting sales experience, because it's really hard to start a business if you don't know how to promote and sell at least. Apply in a lot of other things, but certainly that skill. And after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of course, opened my eyes to real estate investing and all those sort of things. And so, I immediately got a job actually in the corporate setting doing kind of organizational development. And I have a lot of experience in helping like teams and people kind of hire the right people for the right seat. I did a lot of training around personal growth and, hiring, team building, communication training, all those sort of things. And at the same time, my husband and I decided to start a business investing in real estate and buying investment property. And then he was focused on that. I was helping, but I was really focused on my corporate work. So I left that about 6 years ago, had my son, and then had a daughter afterwards, started a family, and really joined my husband back in our business. And then quickly said, okay, I feel like there's something in my soul that's missing. I love real estate, but I know there's something I'm passionate about that's just not in my life yet. I love being a mom. And I also had this kind of deep desire to serve people and help people. So Andres and I were partners at the time in a few real estate projects. Long story short, decided to say, there's a lot of there's a lot of male dominated groups out there for real estate investing. And we just were really passionate about supporting women for a lot of reasons in this business that tends to be a little more male oriented. So we started a podcast and a community that helps women focus, really focus on helping women live financially free and balanced lives. So we then started a bunch of meetups. Melissa, you're a meetup leader in Texas, and we have about 25 meetups around the country. And we're building out a membership and publishing arm and a lot of neat things to serve women and give women a voice so they can create a legacy for their lives and their children's lives. So I love real estate investing. I love entrepreneurship, but I think my number one passion these days is really helping women, but doing it in a way that's very community oriented and community building. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. And I love the investor community. I talked to Andresa and we talked about it a little bit, and I love what you guys do and what you stand for, and just having that place for women to go to just, connect and be together in this whole man's world of real estate, right?
I had a guy tell me when we started the podcast, he said, Liz, you're going to run out of women to interview. You're not going to have enough women to interview. I'm like, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And honestly, that has not been a problem. We're booked. Like I literally have content for at least 3 months, to be honest with you. So getting women to interview has not been a problem for us. So there's a lot of investors. There's a lot of women out there. There's a lot of them that are not on the stages. They're not in the limelight. And that's the kind of thing that we're trying to shift.
And do you wonder about why that is? I'm just curious your
You
thoughts
know,
on that.
you know, I wish there was one thing you could point to. I think in a lot of ways, why they're not on the stage or why more women are not investing.
Yeah, like both. I feel like women do invest. I know we're out there doing this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but we tend to not want to be in the limelight or not really be out there so much.
Yeah,
Just,
and I'm not sure why. I mean, I know for myself, I like speaking. I like how I like engaging people. I always like group work kind of thing. Um, am I someone that wakes up every day like, how can I get in the limelight? How can I be known? I'm really not. I actually am more of a one-on-one person, to be honest with you. Um, but I think a lot of women who know their stuff have this have this I think it holds them back in some ways that they don't think they're the expert yet. So
mhm.
if you said to me, I mean, I have 15 years experience in multifamily properties. Um, I know a lot about multifamily and I know a lot about multifamily investing because that's been the bulk of our investing kind of tenure, if you will, even more than flipping, more than other things we've done. And if you said, Liz, there's been times that I'm like, I don't know if I'm credible enough. I don't know if I know enough to speak on that. And I am not the only person that says that. And there are a lot of very successful women out there who know their stuff, who've been on lots of podcasts and this and that. And they're like, I don't know if I know enough to be able to speak on that. And this is totally a generalization, but a lot of men I've spoken to, they'll wing it and they'll make things up more so than women will. Women want to speak when they know what they're talking about, to the extreme in some ways. So I think that part of it, I think that is, and I also believe that the more we get out there, the more we speak, the more we're on these podcasts, we're just giving these examples to women who like, I can do that. Like Oprah Winfrey was quoted saying, until she saw Barbara Walters interviewing other people, she didn't know that like she could do that. Right. And that's like, Oprah as a child saw that and she saw Barbara Walters doing it. So I think that's what excites me is that about what we're up to and what you're up to is like the more we see women in construction, right, talking about financial matters, making tough decisions, leading a group of contractors, I don't know, raising money, right? Whatever the task is, not just designing the home, which most people think women can only do, or some people think women only can do. That's only going to perpetuate, right? More women getting into it, more women supporting each other, and making those women already are the most of the, I'm going to go off on a tangent, but women are already percentage wise makes most of the consumer decisions, right? That's right. Common knowledge, right? 91, 92%, ridiculously high number. Most women are making those decisions. But when it comes to investing, statistics show that women actually invest 40% less than men. Yet statistically, women, person to person, women and men, there's a lot of statistics and studies show that women actually outperform men when it comes to investing. I think they're more cautious, they're more careful. Overall, totally generalization, but that is what statistics will show you. So my belief is that we just got to get women doing it more. And the statistic has to go up, not just, controlling money, because that's already there, or consumer decisions, things like that. Women are already in the forefront of that. But I mean, the investing decisions, right? They're making the calls. They're at the forefront. That's the percent that we want to shift. And that's the kind of work we're up to, right? Because then that's going to change, right? The trajectory of women and legacy and the fact that women are going to outlive a lot of men, right? We're going to live longer. We're going to need more financial resources. So the need for money, the need for resources is there. It's not like I'm making this up or coming up with these statistics. So that's why I think I'm really passionate about it, because the idea of me outliving my husband or my partner, if we're still, knock on wood, we're still together, but hey, I love my husband, but just having that wherewithal, knowing that I can run investments myself and run financials, it's really important to me.
It is. And I think it's, I find too that, getting out there and speaking and stuff like that, no matter how long you've been doing it, it's funny to realize that a lot of times more than you think you know.
Absolutely.
I've been interviewed on podcasts before and, I'm always a nervous wreck before I'm interviewed for anything. I want to be prepared when I want my questions.
Absolutely.
But then once you get talking and then, things, take tangents or whatever, and then you realize you start, suggesting things and talking about experiences that you've had, and those are such teachable moments, to be able to share. And it's like, I totally forgot about that. But then when somebody asks you the right question, you remember.
Yep.
So I think it's that, like, you've got this knowledge, but, we're not always putting it out there because maybe
and owning it.
Yeah.
And
like, more than you think, and having platforms now, like your community and stuff like that, places where you can go and share that information, like give and receive.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately that's the goal. Yeah. Cause there's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, there's plenty. I've been flipping houses for 17 years and there's still things that come up and I'm like, or maybe I encountered it a long time ago and forgot about it.
Yeah.
And it pops its head out again, and it's like, oh man, yeah, I remember this happened, a long time ago. How did I deal with that?
Yeah. And then navigating it and so I'm that's a little bit about why, but I think and as we shift that, and we, one of the comments we got from the summit we just put together, Melissa, it was all women obviously speaking at it and women attending, and women are like, I've never saw so many women speak about what they know and make it they're so approachable. They made it so like, I can do this too. And some of these women, especially our keynote, she's an equity partner of a very large firm. So she's someone who blew my mind, and I was writing pages of notes. She's got, on average, they buy this business, that business. They have like 70 businesses they're invested in. I mean, this is, a real deal equity, type of leader and equity partner of a major firm. And I'm like, she just made it so approachable, right? Like it wasn't like, I'm higher than you, I know more than you. It wasn't like this pretentiousness. And that's what I find with a lot of women. I have really positive experiences with a lot of women that just want to share and help and also grow and learn. So it's a neat community.
It is. Well, I love what y'all are doing and 100% support you guys as always.
And we appreciate you. You're a rock star down there in Texas. I want to come visit when we get out of COVID here.
Oh, one day.
one day, over the rainbow now.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're up to and maybe something that you want to kind of talk through with your business that we can, work on together.
Yeah. So, I think what's been really helpful with the conversations we've had in the past, because we've had a lot of different conversations, is, it's like working on the business versus in it. Right. And I think, I think a lot about like my past, because our past tends to help us figure out what's coming up for us as we're working through something. So I was a consultant for many years. So when we started our business, you're doing everything and then you're a consultant. And again, remember how consultants get paid. The more you do, the harder you work, the more you get paid, which I was an excellent consultant because I'm a very hard worker. So if you tell me, if I bring on 10 new clients, service them, do workshops, travel around the country, literally trade your time for money, I was an amazing consultant. Now, fast forward, I'm an entrepreneur, building a business, a couple businesses right now. That'll get you into major fatigue. That'll get you into major trouble, right? As a leader and as an entrepreneur. So the very things I used to do so well with and actually get compensated very well with monetarily, and also accolades, right? All my clients loved me and they wanted me and I love that, is the opposite of really what we're up to now in building a business, right? You have to hire other people, let things go. And it's not about trading time, right? That's the whole point of why we're building a business. So I've thought a lot about that as we've grown our businesses and being mindful of not getting into that trap, because I can get into that trap where I just do it all. So where that leads me to what I want to talk about a little more further with you is building out a team. Here I am, someone who knows personalities. So I know the personality traits I need. That I don't need help with. But what I do need help with, or where we are with our crossroads of our company, is there's a lot of women who love what we're up to and they want to be part of it. Right. So we have meetup leaders like yourself, which is like, people who are part of our community. They're leaders in our community. Then there's other tasks that we need to have done, right? Lots of things that need to happen in a company that people are like, I can help you with this. I can help you with that. So just, bringing them on, setting up a system, right? And accountability. Cause you bring on people who want to help and volunteer. It's got to be checks and balances, right? Because it's hard to fire a volunteer.
Right.
But you need to have expectations and be very clear with like, hey, if you don't meet these, this isn't going to work kind of thing. So we're building out kind of like our non-paid or our volunteer team, if you will, ambassadors. I'm coming up with a term and a name for that. And then there's also the idea of, okay, there's so many other things we need help with, right? Administratively and just tasks. So what's maybe a good first hire, paid hire that we, person we can, and we have people we're paying and that are helping us edit our podcast. So we've started to let go of some of that, but I know there's a few other things we do need to let go of as well as we grow. So we can look at the strategy of it and the big picture, not the details that have to happen. So in a succinct way, I think it's, where we headed, what is our priorities, which you and I were talking about earlier, which I think we're pretty clear on, but just refining, really digging and getting a little clearer on. And then ultimately, employing these teams and getting the right people in the right seat. And then also thinking about the benefits for these people, if it's non-monetary, and also just watching my time. Cause I can have a call with everybody. I can help them. And, I'll just have to be mindful of that. Right. Cause that's where I love to do, is just to talk to people and help them. Mm-hmm. So anyway, long-winded answer to your question, but really thinking through our next steps with our team, and both, from a monetary perspective, but also from a non-monetary perspective, because we are very bootstrap, or, still, I won't say we just started, but, we're getting our feet, getting our feet planted, something like that. But, as we grow and build this thing out, plus people want to help. And I think there's a place for us in our culture that we would have like a non-paid team and a paid team. That's what I envision. It's just figuring all that out. Okay.
So, I'm just taking a few notes.
Yeah. I probably just mentioned just 7 different, things in there anyway, because that's just one thought leads to another. I don't have one linear thought, just so you know, that's clear.
But I don't either. It usually looks like this.
Yeah. You're like, so what do you need help with?
So again, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you, so you've got paid people that can do certain things. And then you've got, that you will eventually have to build a team where you will have to compensate people to do certain things. So that would be like, I see that as like your experts, right? So, you've got your kind of lay people, and then you've got your experts. So dividing those two things up first. So your experts, you're going to want to compensate them in some way, because they're the expert in their field, right? And when I think about that, like Andrea and I had talked about, like having a marketing director or marketing consultant, or some person that can oversee like strategy and, help you create the vision and kind of the pathway, for where you want to go. Mm-hmm. So they'll be able to break that down into manageable pieces.
Yep.
So you start with like your grand vision, like here's where we want to go. Here's all the things that we want to do. And now all those things need to be broken down into, okay, well, what prioritize, like we talked about, what do we want to do? What do we need to do first, second, third? And I think that is based on maybe some help with the prioritizing thing, is looking at that end goal. Like, so you're creating this as a business. So the point of having a business is obviously to generate revenue, and obviously you want to help and serve people too, but you can't do that. It's the whole, like, you can't pour from an empty cup thing.
Yep.
You've got to have some revenue in order to be able to provide these things for people that, are low cost or free or whatever.
Yep.
Like if you're doing an event or something, right? Like you need to have money to put on an event.
Yep.
So what are the things that you have in your plan that will generate revenue?
Right.
And then you have your experts kind of work on that stuff. But what I was thinking is like with the volunteer people is kind of like, what I would do would be to list out all those things. Maybe just like brain dump everything first. this is my preferred method of doing things, just because I feel like I always have so much stuff rattling around in my head.
Yep.
So I have to get it all out first. It's like, okay, here's kind of where I want to go. Maybe just have that sort of vague vision. You kind of know, but it's not exact yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've got some things that you definitely want to do. So writing all those things down, but then like the deeper level to that. So now what goes with that? So you want to launch a member site. So what all does that entail?
Yeah. You
want to have an event. What all does that entail? You're going to put a book out. What all does that and what are the things that have to be done in order to do that? You've got marketing for each one of these things.
Right.
And then you've got, sales, and then you've got support, and then you've probably got like a technical side of things. Like if you've got somebody that's building out a membership site, you're going to have some kind of tech support.
Yep.
You might want to have like I'm a big fan of like what do they call it? Somebody that's in charge of customer experience. Because you're going to be.
I see that. And I see that almost, not to jump in, but it's funny, the customer experience, or like, that's what I was thinking about calling these ladies ambassadors. They can help grow our meetups. They can help grow the community. So like the community building aspect, I think, is actually people who love and appreciate our community, who've gotten a lot from the community. We've had women who are like, I've gotten so much from this community, I want to give back.
Right.
How can I give back? Like, and I want to be like, what, you could do this flavor of ice cream, this flavor of ice cream, this flavor of ice cream. I just want you on board, give you a t-shirt, get you excited, appreciate your excitement, and help you achieve your goals. Right. So it's just like, to your point, I see the customer experience definitely as a volunteer role, And
that's kind of where I was going with that. It's like, once you break all that stuff down, then you can begin to separate those things into, okay, these are things that can be done by volunteers. These are things that need to be done by the experts. But then the things that are done by the volunteers, what are things that they can be doing that can lead to the revenue generation side that'll help support the other things?
Yep.
So, one of them, could be, like you said, just growing the community, having that outreach there, just getting people like into the funnel, first of all.
That's the biggest thing. So like the community we're only as strong as our community, right? That's obviously what we're building and what we're cultivating. So, COVID hasn't helped, but on the other hand, our Facebook community, we have like 100 new members, right? And 100 new people who are in our Facebook community, probably weekly. That's that was incredibly higher than it was pre-COVID. The face-to-faces have decreased, right? Just because of what we're going through right now. But yeah, I mean, that's just, that's an interesting piece here.
Yeah. Cause I know even, that's okay. That's why I had to leave my house. I know, like for our meetup group, even too, just because of all that stuff, we haven't even had the chance to meet in person because we launched right at the beginning.
Right.
And so, but the great thing was I was shocked at how many people came into that group that fast, just in our market.
Yeah.
I think we have like about 150 people, something like that in our group already.
And that's just organic. Like, so all of our growth has been
really organic. We have done
purely
paid marketing.
So then the thought process is like, where do we really take on, right? The idea of like you're saying, the marketing is huge. Because everything we've done is so grassroots and organic. And I think in a lot of ways, people have really appreciated that though, too. We're not like this commercial brand that we're like, oh, it's another, it's been so, I think in a lot of ways, very comfortable for both of us. But now we're like stepping into a new piece here and a new phase of growth and getting over your own mindset, your own limitations. But so I think that's part of it too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm so sorry. Do you mind if I'm sorry, you're going to edit this, I'm sure. Yeah. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah. Okay. We're on again. So I think, one of the things I wanted to share too was, I love marketing, that. So I go to a lot of these I'm always trying to learn about it, just because that is like the one piece of business, like business principles, I feel like are always the same. But what I love about marketing is that it's always evolving, like it's always changing. And so you have to kind of stay on top of that and like understand what's working and what's not working, and things that worked before don't work now, and like doing all those things. And that's with any business,
of course.
Even, house flipping, running a mastermind, whatever, there's that. But one of the things that has stood out to me the last couple of years when I've gone to these like social media marketing conferences and stuff is like building a brand awareness, because people love that. And I touched on that a little bit with Andresa, but it's about building your brand and telling your story, because that's, very compelling for people. People want to be told a story. But the other thing that really sticks out for me with the branding is that, and I think you guys have done a good job on this, is when you create a good brand, like you have like, and not just like a logo, I'm talking about like the brand, all of it. Like, what do you stand for? Who you are? What do you, how you represent yourself, how you speak to people, your culture, I guess, is all part of your brand. And so even though everything you've done has been grassroots up to this point, when you think about it, those people are loyal, right? And so they talk about this thing of like building raving fans.
Yeah.
So the more raving fans that you have that you can, tap into, they're the ones that are going to be your ambassadors. They're going to be your best source of marketing, and it costs nothing.
Sure.
Other than just having done such a good job at building a good culture and a good brand. Because when people, once they get into whatever you're doing, whatever you put out, they're going to be grabbing at it always, because they're loyal, because they like the brand, they like who you are, they like who you stand for. And the great thing about that is they're going to go tell everybody about it too. So that word of mouth, again, is a free thing, but you want to try to build these raving fans. And I feel like, these people that you're talking about, like the ambassadors, like those are raving fans. They're going to go out there and spread the word about what you're doing and bring people in and talk about it. And, because I didn't know about the investor community until another female investor told me about it, because she had been on your podcast.
Yes, that's right. That's how we connected. Yeah.
That was Peely.
Yep.
And, but I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have known about it. And so I think that is, if you can have this little army of raving fans that go out and just, promote, and bring them into the fun. So you got to have your funnel set up so that, okay, they're going to bring people in, but now, like, what do they need? What kind of content do they need? What are they looking for? And then structuring all that in a way to where they're getting what they need.
And then what do they do? Right. So like, and then, what's the communication or connection with them? And that was the other thoughts of like, almost like something that people covet. Like I'm an investor ambassador, that's something that they're proud of saying. Right. So, I was talking to my husband about it too, just about the meetup leaders and just that type of thing. And, so that's a really good point. And,
because the benefits don't always need to necessarily be monetary, because, like, as well as I do. So like when you're thinking about your team, right? And I just listened to this Gary Vee thing yesterday where he was talking about like firing your best person on your team if they're toxic. And it just hit me because I've had to do that before. But that to say, like, knowing what your people need too that are working with you, like the ambassador type people, they probably just really want to help, and they would just like the benefit for them, because we talked about like what are the benefit, like what will be a benefit for them. I think it's like you said, like to be able to say I'm an ambassador for Investor, they don't necessarily need monetary compensation. It's just that they want to help and serve and promote, wherever they can. And that doesn't cost you anything, but it can bring them into the revenue generating portion of the business.
Right.
Would be like being a part of the membership site, if that's paid or paid content or live events or coaching or whatever it is, that will be monetized.
We had a few women who expressed interest in helping, and their skill sets were pretty specific, right? So when you said about the experts, you had one woman who's like, I write professionally for XYZ website. I can help you do some writing. I'm like, that would be cool. So it wasn't just like, I just want to raise the flag, right, and wave it for
Right.
investor, which I think you're going to have some people who, just that's awesome, right? But then there's this other person who almost like a hybrid, right? Because they're technically have an expertise in something. Like this one person said, hey, I can write for you guys. I'm like, that'd actually be really great if we can transcribe some of our podcast episodes into blog posts. We have not done that. And that'll be another way to
Just a great way to repurpose content.
But again, do I have time to am I doing that in my free time? I actually like writing. I like copywriting. Don't have the time to do it.
Writing too, actually. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I kind of like, interestingly enough, I was actually blogging quite a bit for BiggerPockets for a few years. I thought it was very therapeutic, because actually what's in your head, you get out on paper, and it's like, I do know that. That's right. Like, it's actually very, very liberating, if you will. I've always saw myself as more auditory as someone who likes to communicate, but actually, I actually really like writing too. But anyway, but that's an interesting point. And I said, that's interesting. And another person said, I really have an expertise in, I love doing administrative tasks. Right. And I'm like, that's awesome. So I think I'm also looking at, okay, if you're not paying someone, maybe this is my own stuff, right? My own limiting mindset, but it's almost like I feel bad, right? I don't want to ask them to do too much. So getting clear on expectations for everyone is really helpful for me, because then I don't feel like, is this too much? Am I asking, is this, and I don't know, maybe that's just my own stuff, my own limitations.
No, and I see what you're saying. And I think, part of that, I think that even with a volunteer position, and this, I think that you should still have those tasks laid out, specifically.
Yeah.
Just because they're a volunteer and not being paid, it's kind of like the conversation is, okay, well, here are all the things, like you've expressed an interest, you've got expertise in, XYZ, whatever. Here's where you could fill a need for us.
Yep.
It would be doing A, B, and C.
Yep.
And just like being very clear, and like they understand you're a volunteer. These are the things I need from you. Here's like what the time commitment would look like.
Yep.
And are you willing to
commit to this?
Take that on. Yeah. To commit to it, just like anything else.
As you build out, like say you got 10 people who are raising their hand and they just literally want to do something. There's a time frame for that, right? So they're excited, they want to help. It's like, you can't reach out to them in 4 months. Like, hey, I'm ready to, obviously, because their enthusiasm is weaned, like all of our enthusiasms to something. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious though, like, have you seen, in terms of a communication techniques, like, I think that's something we need to step up, like Slack or, all these different project management systems, right? We were using Slack, Justin and I use Slack, or have used Slack. And that works. And we have an organization method in Dropbox. So we have that going, and we're building out some SOPs, processes for Meetup. I wouldn't say we have every single process built out, because we're creating stuff as we're going, right? So I'm just thinking through from a communication perspective, because the biggest challenge in any organization, the challenge I brought into, and I got paid well to help them with, was the lack of communication, right? Communication breakdowns. So as we build this out, I'm very just conscious of it, because I saw it firsthand. I don't know a lot about business. I mean, I know things about business, but I certainly know that's a big challenge. So I'm just thinking, like, setting that up well from the beginning, right? And getting into a good communication technique with people, and so I don't know, but especially from an app perspective, I don't know if I'm like we're not like the most savvy with all these different systems. Like, oh yeah, just throw them in our Asana portfolio. Like, we don't have that going. So I don't know.
I feel like it doesn't have to be complicated. I feel like, I don't know, just sometimes people just tend to overcomplicate things, and I'm a big fan of simple.
Yep.
I think that, with communication, it's just like anything else. That's a process too. It's a process that has to be hammered out.
Yep.
How are you going to communicate with them? how often are you going to communicate with them? What do you expect in the communication? Is there going to be follow-up with that particular thread of communication?
Right. Because I think the big thing is then
things are complete. How does that all look?
Well, that's what I mean. Like just being kept in the loop, and there's people who undermanage, right? Overmanage,
I think putting that together, like figuring that out, and then putting that in with that volunteer description, or not even any of the positions. It's like, here's all the things that you would be committing to. This is how we communicate. We're going to be, once a week, we're going to do a call on this day or whatever, that way it's just, I always feel like as much as you can be clear up front, it just eliminates a bunch of questions later and problems later. Because then it's not like, well, we need to do a call this week. Okay, what's a good day for you? What's a good day for you?
No, absolutely. And that's kind of where we are getting to, because we, Justin and I had strategy meetings, and with COVID, and just, it's been a little, I don't want to say off, but we just, and then we were doing the summit. So we were communicating a lot, but listen, there's different types of communication. We all know that. There's like task conversations, there's, strategy conversations, and you kind of have to plan all of them, because if you don't, the tasks take over and you're like, hold on, kind of thing. So I would want the same thing for this kind of group, which I foresee, kind of bringing together. And this is really good. This is helpful to think through, because,
when you could even have somebody like a VA that's kind of in charge of managing those communications too. Like if you have Slack, you can create different channels in there, and it's like, okay, here's my volunteers channel. Here's my, the marketing channel where all the people are talking about the marketing and stuff in there. Here's the sales channel. Here's the customer support channel, and just having the different groups, and then maybe somebody that just oversees and checks all of that, maybe like an assistant or a VA or.
That's probably one of the most important things we need to kind of really think about.
Really crazy. You should start building like this big thing where there's like a lot of people, a lot of moving pieces, It's like, that's going to be too much for you to manage, to go in and check all those channels,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm already going through, just even from a growth perspective, like, what are the things that we both need to take off our current plates, right? Just if we do nothing else, literally, which is not the plan, but what's the current tasks that need to get reconfigured, and, what does that look like? How do we do that? So then we can, grow and bring on more different lines and revenue streams.
I think something else that you can do too is just going back to that communication thing is, maybe once you separate those things out too, like you have one person, maybe it's not an assistant or VA, but maybe it's a person that's in charge of that. So like you're the head ambassador. So they're over all the other ambassadors.
That's a good idea. I thought of that with regards to the meetups already. And I need to kind of do that as we grow, because
great idea for the meetups too, because that's a lot to manage too, especially if you've got 25 already, and then you've got, 1, 2.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of running the meetups, right? That's one of my roles. And, it's just interesting what people bring you, right? But people are people, right? So there's always going to be some sort of something that, and I love that. I actually really like helping people and connecting with them and talking ideas through, or just challenges they're having. But yeah, I couldn't imagine if we were double. I don't know how I'd manage that, right? Or do anything else, right? So then the thought process comes in my head. Okay, then I need to, that's where I already was thinking. And then that's a good point to actually bring it to the ambassador level. Because then I could actually start that arm, if you will, with a head baked in. I don't have to wait. I couldn't wait.
Have that person is responsible for going out and, choosing the other ambassadors or whatever. And then you've got somebody that's running the meetup.
Ooh, I like that. I was thinking so differently. I was really thinking, it's so funny, it's like, I got to get out of that thinking that I have to put all the people in place and figure it all out.
Let them do it. And then the great thing is you've got one person from each little thing that's reporting to you. So you're not trying to manage all that. You're just, here's that person,
That's a really, really good point. I like that a lot. Even just starting that way, maybe giving I love that. That's a brilliant idea. I was not thinking that at all.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I hope that helps. Well, I think we're out of time. I know you have another call coming up soon. So
This has been super. This has been super helpful. That's what I'm going to commit to doing, is obviously building out our priorities, building out like the roles, and then matching it with people who've like raised their hand saying, hey, I want to be part of this. But then the next part is putting the details together, but also getting out of that thinking that, I have to now be in charge of a group of 25 people, because that thought's a little overwhelming in my head, right? Because that's just, I don't know how I'd have time to do that, right? That's a really, really, really excellent point. But begin that way, which has been not the trajectory so far. It's been more of like build it out and then, oh yeah, we got to get somebody to help us with that now, where you're saying the opposite.
Yeah. It's
like a line of business, right? I wouldn't start a new manufacturing site and then I'd have to hire everyone. I'd really would hire someone to do that, right? If I was an operations manager, I know that. But yeah, getting out of your own way of doing it all. It's a really good point.
I'm just thinking like big picture too, because that's gonna really, once you get that person in place, it's really going to allow you to be able to grow too.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing all those things. You've got that person that understands completely what that role looks like who the right people are that should be there. Spend the time developing one person from each little team, develop them because you're good at that, and what you want, and then let them take it over and, develop all the people underneath them.
Yeah, that's the growth.
Spread that workload out too.
Yeah, that's the growth for us. As we.
And that's how I could see you being able to grow that a lot quicker. I think. Leverage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a whole different skill set. But thank you. This has been amazing.
I'm glad I could help. And just to wrap up, you want to let people know where they can find you? Sure.
The our investor website is therealestateinvestor.com, and our meetups are there. You could find where our all the different meetups. You can go to meetup.com, but you can go to our website and check us out there. We're on social media. We're on Facebook. Just we're a private Facebook group, about 3,500 women. Just type in investor community. And our podcast is the Real Estate Investor Show. And definitely check us out. We're over 115 episodes now. So, and you can access that from our website as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today and letting us
awesome.
Through some of the stuff. And I'll be checking back and see how that goes too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. This has been amazing. Appreciate your time as well.
Thank you so much, Liz.